Shalom, Chaverim. Welcome back to our discussion of Sichos HaRan. It has been quite a while since our last installment of this series. We had Shavuot and lots of things to celebrate. And now that we're sliding back into a normal routine, it's time to jump back into Sichos HaRan. Today we're going to look at a Sicha that deals with something kind of unpleasant. And at first glance, it might seem a bit strange, even, that such a long Sicha would be dedicated to this particular topic. But I think you're going to see as we unfold it that there is actually a lot of what we already know contained within this Sicha, and that it's giving us a good real-world example of some concepts that we've already discussed. So we're going to look today at Sicha number 30. If you're in the BRI version of Sichos HaRan, Rabbi Nachman's Wisdom, we're going to be starting on page 130. And I think you'll see what I mean about the sort of the apparent strangeness as we jump in. There's certainly a reason that Reb Nassan in his great wisdom did not put this Sicha first. I think if this were the first introduction to Sichos HaRan, many people probably wouldn't go much farther. But what he's done, is he's arranged these Sichos in such a way that in the previous 29 Sichos, we've really gotten a good introduction to what Rabbi Nachman's Torah is all about. And I think we're going to see that this is a really useful explication of some of those concepts that we've already looked at. So let's jump right in. Says Rabbi Nachman, there are many who would spend much time in the lavatory, attempting to totally cleanse out their bodies before praying in the morning. The Rebbe spoke out strongly and ridiculed this practice. Okay, so what's he talking about? There's a Talmud in Brachos that says that the proper order in the morning is that you should go to the bathroom and then wash your hands and then daven, then pray the morning service of Shacharis. And what Rabbi Nachman is saying is that many people, based on this lesson in the Talmud, will spend so long in the morning trying to go to the bathroom, even if they don't really need to, that they end up delaying their morning prayers past the permissible time for those prayers, or at least getting sort of close to the deadline. And he says that he's speaking out strongly against this and ridiculing that practice. It continues, Rabbeinu Nachman said that the main thing to remember is that the Torah was not given to the ministering angels. Right? So there's this notion, also from Talmud in Brachos, that the Torah was given to human beings who are inherently human. We're inherently flawed, and we have a physical body, a guf, that has needs, and the Torah was given to us, not to the angels, and so the Torah recognizes that we're human beings and that we have a guf and that we have physical needs. Continues the Heilige Rebbe, it is not necessary to go beyond the requirement of the law, and the codes state only that it is forbidden to pray when one actually feels the need to relieve himself. So he's clarifying here that the law is pretty straightforward and simple. Remember, we've talked a lot about Rabbi Nachman's fondness for simplicity, and here he's saying the law is not so complicated. It's not requiring that you go to the bathroom before you pray. It's saying that if you need to go, you should go before you pray, right? And then it says, he continues, the Talmudic dictum is one who finds it necessary to move his bowels should not pray. So if you're, really experiencing a need to go to the bathroom, you need to take care of that before you start davening. But there's no requirement that you go to the bathroom if you don't need to. Continues Rabbeinu, still many laws are brought in chapter 92 of the Shulchan Aruch, especially dealing with emergencies or when one has no other choice. The Magen Avraham, who the Magen Avraham was writing in the 17th century, follows the opinion of the Rif, who was writing in the 11th century, that one may pray even if he feels a need, as long as he can contain himself long enough to walk a league. And then there's a parenthetical here that says that's approximately 72 minutes. So the Magen Avraham, who Rabbi Nachman follows in most of these halakhic questions, it has brought down this rule that even if you feel like you need to go to the bathroom, if you could walk for 72 minutes without actually having to go, you're permitted to pray. That's according to Magen Avraham. So he's saying it's even less stringent than what we originally said. It's not just that you should go if you need to go, but if you can put it off for 72 minutes, which is plenty of time to daven chakras in the morning, then you're allowed to do that. Continues Der Heilige Rebbe, from all this, we see that there is no need to be overly strict in this respect. One should not keep himself from prayer and study just for the sake of a mere qualm, which in itself is unnecessary strictness and foolishness. Right? So this is really core Rabbi Nachman here, right? He's telling us we shouldn't get too caught up in strictness and the foolishness that comes along with that. Everything is meant to be within our reach, and everything is meant to be simple. And this idea that you absolutely must go to the bathroom before you pray is nowhere in the halacha, is nowhere in the law. And so people shouldn't get too hung up on that. The main thing, obviously, the most important thing in the morning is that you pray, and that you pray on time, right? We've also seen Rabbi Nachman's immense value that he puts on prayer. And he's saying you gotta pray on time. Continues Rabbeinu, you should also not spend too much time in the lavatory in general, for this can cause all sorts of ailments and severely damage your health. This is especially true in lavatories where one must squat, since remaining in such a position for too long can result in a serious case of illness. Therefore, you should avoid spending too much time there. So he's saying, even aside from just in the morning, you shouldn't just be hanging out in the bathroom. It's not good for your guf. It's not good for your general constitution. It's not good for your health. You go when you need to go, and that's it. You don't spend time trying to force yourself to go to the bathroom. Continues Rabbi Nachman, in general, you should not seek in these matters unnecessarily harsh disciplines, which can lead to serious depression. We've talked about this before too, right? That if you're too caught up in following the stringencies of the law, you can actually get depressed, chas v'shalom. You can get to a point where you just feel hopeless, and you experience, this real pain that you're somehow not living up to these standards that you've placed on yourself. And he's saying these standards are exactly that. They're placed on yourself by you. They're not placed on you by the Shulchan Aruch. They're not placed on you by the Torah. And so you should avoid at all costs anything that's going to lead to that sort of depression. Obviously, remember, with Rabbi Nachman, we want to focus on joy. What might have been written earlier was not said for our generation. So he's saying, the law may have been different in the past, or the recommendation might have been different in the past, but today, we know what's going on, and we have access to, facilities. Even in Rabbi Nachman's day in the late 18th century, it wasn't like you had to, find some place off in the woods to relieve yourself. So he's saying that's not the rule anymore. You don't need to just hang out in the bathroom. Reb Nassan interjects here, and he says, the Rebbe himself had made this error in his youth, doing many unusual things to achieve bodily purity. He went so far that he endangered his health and even his life. But finally, he realized that it was foolishness and a waste of precious time, right? Wasting time is an avera, it's a sin, right? We only have so much time on this earth and only so much time in the day, and we have lots and lots of mitzvos to do, and going to the bathroom is not one of them, right? We have those precious few minutes in the day when we need to be studying Torah, when we need to be praying, when we need to be doing acts of chesed, of kindness, right? And so spending too much time in the bathroom is wasting precious time that you could be devoting to Torah and mitzvos, right? It is actually impossible to ever purify the body completely of all waste matter. Even a person who fasts from Shabbat to Shabbat, that was a common practice for some tzaddikim, must still move his bowels even at the end of the week. He may have gone several days without food, but something still remains in the body. So he's saying if your goal is to rid your body of all waste before you start praying, you're never gonna get there. You're never gonna pray, because no matter what you do, there's always going to be some waste matter in your body at all times, and there's no way that you're ever going to achieve that goal. It's completely unnecessary. And then the Sicha concludes with Reb Nassan saying the Rebbe said that it is very important for him to speak out about this. stressing that people not waste time in such foolishness. Even if one must spend time in the lavatory, it's better to leave and return rather than remain there for a long time at once. So even if you're having a rough day and you're having to spend a lot of time in the bathroom, he's saying you should break that up. Go do what you need to do, but then get back to Torah and mitzvos as soon as you can. Get back to your davening as soon as you can. And if you have to go back later, then so be it, when you're not under that deadline. So that's Sicha number 30, as I hope I demonstrated for you. Even though it's kind of a strange and maybe unpleasant subject, it's a really interesting way that Rabbi Nachman underscores a lot of his core ideas, right, that we've already talked about in previous installments of this series, that we are supposed to do everything with joy and simplicity. And if something is getting in the way of joy or simplicity, it's probably the wrong way. And here he's giving a real life example that he had apparently done himself in his youth. He had made this error, and he's had probably seen others making this same error, that they were spending so much time in the bathroom in the mornings in particular that they were missing the cutoff time to daven chakras in the morning. And he's saying that's a waste of time and that's foolish. So again, even though it's kind of a strange subject, here in Sicha number 30, we see that there's this emphasis still on simplicity, doing everything with simplicity, just following the law, not imposing any unnecessary strictures on yourself above and beyond what the law requires, which of course means that you have to study the law, which is what we talked about in the last Sicha, in Sicha number 29, that you have to study the laws every day so that you know what they actually require of you, and so you're not led astray by, some false teacher who's telling you that you need to do more than what the law requires. So you need to study the law and then follow the law, but that's it. Only go that far. Only go as far as what the law requires, because if you start going farther than what the law requires, you're going to put your joy in jeopardy, and you're going to risk falling into a depression, chas v'shalom. And that, of course, according to Rabbi Nachman, is the last thing that anybody wants to do. So thanks for tuning in today. B'siyata Dishmaya, we'll look at Sichos 31 and 32 sometime real soon. Thanks.